Hello, y'all. It's a beautiful sunny winter day. We've got over a foot of snow outside, and I thought I would do a quick video on winter sowing. I'm not going to show everything from start to finish because I don't have all my tools here, and I'm holding my phone in my hand because I don't yet have my tripod and everything set up. But here I am at the dining room table, and I'll just show you the basic stuff I have and talk about the process. I do have a blog, www.paintedtongue.com, that only has one post on it, and that is my winter sewing instructions from a few years ago. I do have some things I've changed and adjusted, and I haven't updated them on the blog yet, so I'll just talk about those things here, but I can show y'all how I'm doing this, what tools I'm using, and some of the things I've changed, and maybe some mistakes and stuff I've made. So don't mind the mess around the kitchen or around the table. It's winter, and as a gardener, it is a tough time of year. Winter sowing is a beautiful way to go get your hands back in the dirt, and it's time. We're zone 5, and there are things I definitely should have under lights, but I don't have that set up yet. We do have a unheated greenhouse, so technically a hoop house, and without heat in it, there's just things I can't do. So winter sowing allows me to do so many things I would not otherwise get to do, and it allows me to start my seedlings in the dead of winter. I'm actually a couple months behind. The winter solstice is the typical date of winter sowing starting, and we were really busy this year, and I just put it off, and so I just started a week or so ago. So here's my setup. I have a tidy tray. These actually are made in England, and you can get them from the Greenhouse Superstore, Megastore. I really should know the name. They are sold out right now. This I recommend you add. It's only a few dollars. This is the shelf that goes on the tidy tray. There are other people that sell the tidy tray. I want to say maybe Johnny's also sells it. So it is really, really a game changer when you can make one too. I've seen people make these out of wood. I really, really like it, and there's a smaller version, but it's heavy duty. It's recycled and recyclable plastic, and it's very thick, and it keeps the mess in. You can see it's got high walls in the back. A lot of people like to put their soil back there, and then they will fill their pots from their soil stashes here, and that's really useful. I just like it for keeping the mess and all the tools and the dirt and the water together, and my soil is actually in a big Rubbermaid tub. And so let me see, the other basics. Watering can. I use this because sometimes my soil is pre-moistened, but I have a 30-gallon bucket full of soil sitting in the living room behind the couch, where I keep the potting soil. I don't use seed starter mix in winter sowing. I use potting soil because sometimes these are sitting for a couple months before I get them in the ground. So I'm not using the seed starter because it will not have the nutrition or keep the moisture or anything that the plants are going to need to actually live in here for a while, because I'm not going to get to all of them as soon as they could be, or as soon as they should be. So I have I like this watering can. I've tried the kinds with there's no top at all. I spill the water everywhere. This one has a nice enough hole that you can fill it. It's small enough that it's reasonable to carry. It's got enough water that you're not making 1,000 trips. And the spout is short enough that you don't shoot water halfway across the room, which I have done. This is a sprayer. This one's from Home Depot, the pump sprayer, and that's what I use to spray. Some people use, regular, like a Windex type bottle. I do so much winter sowing that I don't want to do that. I don't want to make that spray action that much. This one actually has a locking clip. Once you pump it, you put your water in it, you pump it like this, it makes it pressurized. You do that until it feels like you can't pump it anymore. And then this has a locking button right here that you can lock the button, and then it will just keep spraying. And the sprayer is adjustable, so you can do you don't want to do the hard spray because you would actually dislodge your seeds. So you want the more fine spray. And that allows me to just wet the whole top of the container down without having to sit there doing that action on your hand all the time. This is an old Ocean Spray juice jug. It's really heavy duty plastic. These are, and I cut this one too short. When I winter sowed for years, And then I watched a lot of videos on winter sowing. My pump sprayer leaks now, but that's okay. It still works. Apparently it doesn't like to hold the pressure now. It wants to leak. So this, I cut too short. It's about 2 inches, and it should be 4 inches minimum for your soil level. And I didn't know that for the first several years I winter sowed. I think I actually started winter sowing like 2014-ish or something like that, 2017. Maybe 2017. Maybe there wasn't even winter sowing in 2014. Anyway, it's been a while. And I saw a video and somebody said, oh, you should have minimum 4 inches of soil. So these are still going strong, and I now cut my containers taller, as you can see from this one. This is not the best shape, just to note, because it has this indent here. This is a juice bottle. It's heavy duty, and it's tall, which is nice. You get enough height for your soil, and you get enough, a good amount of height for your plants. But it's not, getting plants out of this when it has that indent is tricky. But once I've made a container, I use it until it's not really good anymore, unless it's just a complete failure. So the tidy tray, I love the shelf, the tape gun, which is much better than hand taping anything. I use a rag, this is an old cut up sock, to dry off the container, which I'll go through the steps. This is because I put seeds, when I have seeds, left over in a pack, I put them in snack bags. They don't always fit, so sandwich bags. This is my next pack I'm planting after this. Tags, I use tags. I've made my own tags. I've done mini blinds. I've done old food containers. Sometimes these kinds will sell out in the stores. They're just at your big box stores, Menards, things like that, garden stores. But they can get expensive depending on how much planting you do. And, they're going to rot. They do rot in the sun. I at least get them in for the first season. And if I get to it and I really need to know what a plant is, I will, like herbs, sometimes herbs you really want to know. I will go back and I do the Kincaid stainless steel markers. I also buy there's a similar one, from Greenstock, that are the stainless with, they have the stainless spike. I'll show those sometimes when I do a garden tour. This is the marker I use. This one ran out of ink, and I was going to use it as a dibbler. This is the art line. The fat one works good for the numbering on the containers, and the fine one works good for writing. Sometimes I'll write my tags in the garden marker, and I have tried Sharpie Extreme. I have tried paint pen. They don't last. Everything faded except for this garden marker. And this garden marker, I do re-go over this if it fades a little bit, but I can say that mostly these numbers have lasted from season to season. They're not completely faded out, even here on the top where it was in the sun. But I do mark my things in 3 spots. The bottom, the side of the bottom, because you can't really read the bottom, and then the top, because the lid is not always attached. So I used to do, this is the first year I'm not doing it, I would use the small garden marker tags, and they're like this, but they're, maybe only that tall and about a third or half as wide. And I just had the numbers printed on them on both sides, one towards the bottom, one towards the top, and anything in the soil doesn't fade in the sun. And that always ensured that I knew what item number my plant is. And these are out of order. So you see, I wish I had 73 items planted, but I don't. I used to try to do everything in order, and now I clean my containers. They get bagged up and stored when they're done, when I'm done using them. Sometimes they get bagged up dirty, and I have to clean them like these before I can use them. And that's another winter thing to do, is just wash winter sowing containers. But it's harder because you have to do it inside. I can't do it outside. And so, there's the whole dirt down your drain thing, which isn't good. So these, this ocean spray container, this will last many seasons. A milk jug will last at least a couple of seasons. Maybe if I lived in the South, you know, hot Texas summer and winter sitting out all winter, and then, you know, if I didn't plant it right away, those might go faster. I'm assuming they would, but I can get several seasons out of some of these. So even though I cut this one short, should be, like I said, the 4 inches, it's still going. And you can tell we have rusty water here because my containers are a little bit yellow. That's actually from the sprinkler water, I think, and not from the sun changing the color of the plastic. But so process. Oh yeah, okay, so sprayer, and then this I use for tamping down the seeds, which is something I just started this year. I watched another gardener lady in California. I wish I could remember the names. I should write these things down before I start doing these videos. And she said she did a mistakes of winter sowing video, and I realized this is something I have never done consistently since I started winter sowing, is tamping my seeds down. So this is an old awesome bottle. It's not totally flat on the bottom, but you may get debris when you tamp it in. And so when I spray, I will start by spraying the bottom of this over the top of the pot, and that will make anything that may have seeds or anything that have stuck go back into the pot. So I use a soldering iron for dedicated, because it's going to get covered in plastic, and I do it outside for putting the holes in my container. And so you pick your container, just about anything will work. And as you can see, this one has a deep concave center. So if I were to put my holes in the middle of this jug, the water would have to be that deep before it would drain and my seedlings might drown. So you have to put your holes in the lowest part of the container. And then I also put holes on the side, because some on the bottom, a couple holes on the, like a flower pot that you get in a nursery, because the bottom holes could get plugged. Especially me, I use potting soil. This right now I'm currently using Roots Organic Original. It has a lot of perlite. I don't know if they've upped the perlite in it, but I usually love that soil, but I'm not sure. I'm going to see how it goes this year. I feel like it's got a lot of perlite this year. Maybe it's got the same amount and I just never noticed it, but it seems very, 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 very full of perlite. So anyway, this, like I said, this shape is not really good because of the indent, but I already made this container. It's very sturdy. This will last probably more years than I'm going to want to use it, but I'm going to keep using it. And I might try to put something in here that is going to be easier to pull out. Like I'm not going to want, you know, a short little seed ground cover type thing. I'm going to want, I think I might have done apple trees, some apple seeds in here last year, which once they grew were reasonable to pull out. And sometimes you don't even get the whole label off, and that doesn't really matter. It's mostly off, and this one is completely off, as you can see. So the process, I have a bucket of soil. I am doing this in the house. We don't have weather that I can go winter sow out in the winter. Like I said, it is currently snowing and blowing right now, and we've had a good foot plus of snow in the last couple weeks, and temperatures in the negatives. I'm not going to go outside and plant and mess with this outside. So I get to do it in the house. I have a bucket of soil, and I use my tidy tray set up on the table, a watering can of water. Sometimes you can pre-moisten your soil. Like I said, I got a big giant bucket of soil. I don't want to water all of that soil. That could draw fungus gnats. It's a lot of weight. And if I don't get back to it, if I don't start planting, you know, if I don't get all of it used, which I don't use that much in a day, it's going to just sit there and it will dry back out anyway. So I tend to water in once I get it in the container. And you want it 4 inches, ideally. I tried masking tape or painter's tape. As you can see, it never came off of this container. I didn't like the way it stuck. I didn't like, either it didn't stick enough or it just never comes off, which isn't really a problem. I mean, it's not like this is the most beautiful way to start seeds. I mean, these are old recycled containers, but I guess I didn't like the tape just sticking. Same thing with duct tape. I don't like the way it sticks and leaves goobers and the strings and everything in it. So I use cheap packing tape I get this in big packs like at Menards. And I like it on the gun, the tape gun, because, I wonder if I can say that on YouTube. I like it in the tape dispenser because I can pull a piece of tape off, and instead of the roll where, you know, I've lost the end and then I'm sitting here digging for the end of the tape. So you put your soil in, do your seeds according to the instructions, like the depth and all of that. I was making a mistake of putting too much vermiculite on surface sown seeds, and vermiculite will block light, which I didn't know until I just looked it up recently. And so this is a surface sown seed. This one is Lewisia. And I just put a sprinkling, random sprinkling of vermiculite to help with dampening off, because I do tend to get some dampening off issues. I overhead water, which I know is not good gardening practice, but I set the sprinkler when I have 100, 150 winter sowing containers. I tried hand watering. There's no way to do that safely and not dislodge your seeds. Even if you use like a sprayer like this, that's a lot of spraying. And so I do a sprinkler, and it's mimicking rain. So I know there's really best practices, but rain is natural in the way that plants are made to receive water. So I guess I don't think it's as horrible as it. I don't think it's terrible. It might not be best practice, but rain is the way nature is made to take water. So anyway, so I put the seeds on. I sometimes do the vermiculite. I'm adjusting that because I think I've been putting too much vermiculite on. You take your flattened item, you know, something with a flat bottom on it, and press your seeds down. And you can do this before or after you water. Pump your pump sprayer, or if you've got just like a Windex type bottle, you know, you spray the top with water, which I'm not going to do because I only got one hand right now. This one's nice, like I said, because it has a locking. Maybe I said it in the previous version of this video, or maybe I said it in this video. There's a locking tab so that once you pump it, that's one reason I use this, because it's not that expensive. I think they're $6 or something like that. But I've had it for a few years, so I'm not sure. This has a tab. You don't have to keep spraying. And if you're doing a lot of winter sowing, that's a lot of action with your hand, you know, to press that trigger. So put your tag in. I used to do the number tags. This is the first year I'm not doing a dedicated number tag. I'm just putting this on this tag. Use a good, very good. I honestly don't recommend anything other than those garden markers. I've not found anything else that lasts. And I used to write the whole tag in a garden marker, but not everything makes it. So now I'm using pencil. I just write I have the number, the sign, pre-written. And sometimes I have some that are from the past that I have the basic type of plant, like it might say beans, because I'm going to do more beans, but I don't write the exact thing on there. Put your information on here that you want. This tag I like now, doing it like this. This goes straight to the garden, and I don't have to stop. That was a huge hindrance to me, you know, a procrastination, a stumbling block to go get my stuff in the ground, because I would just have the number tag in the container, and then I'd have to go get my notebook, look it up, and I don't know enough of the seeds yet to identify everything. And like, I've never grown Lewisia before from seed, not successfully. I don't know if I've tried it, but so I would have to do all that and then stop and write a tag up. By doing the tag now and fitting it in the container, and sometimes they're hard to get in the container if you've got certain shapes, which I'll show you a fruit tray. Those are hard to fit a tag in, especially these big ones. I have to use a smaller tag. But put your basic information that you need on the tag. This tells me it was a gelato seed. This is the item number. The seed I bought was 2024. This is the date I winter sowed it. Actually, that date's wrong because I just did this today. I was going to do it a couple days ago, so I'll have to fix that. And then I usually put the size of the plant, so I might add a little bit of data to that before I actually finish this out. Like, I'll put like the height, full sun. If there's any really particular planting information that I need to know, like must stay wet, you know, bog plant, I will note that on the tag if there's room. So Then put that in, close this up. Now, sometimes your lids are separated altogether. That's fine. An easy way to line them up is if you've done a starter hole for cutting them, like I do the soldering iron, and I did 2 holes here, and that gets me a spot to start with a heavy duty pair of they're utility scissors. I prefer that to a box cutter. I'm just more confident with that. So I can put the tip of the utility scissors in here, and then I can just cut all the way around the container. And that's the easy way to line your lid up if your lid has come apart. And that will often happen if you use a container, or if you've cut it too short. Sometimes you accidentally cut it all the way through. It's nice if you can figure out where to line it up at. And that's also where I start taping. So you get all that done, then take your rag, and because the tape, especially the painter's tape and the packing tape, do not stick when they're wet. So I go around and I dry this off, because I've probably sprayed from the sprayer, spraying the, the seeds in. Then you tape it all the way around, and then I let them sit. That's why this is in this tray, because sometimes there's enough water that I've sprayed, which probably I'm over-watering, but for some plants, like say cardinal flower or something, Camassia, having a lot of moisture in the soil is probably not bad. Maybe it is, but I don't think so, because they're wet, wet, marshy bog plants. Anyway, this captures the water. This is a pie tin. I just had it handy. It's not as good as some of the other containers I've used because it's too small for some of my seedling trays and stuff. But this is basic, and then I can take this water and pour it back in. If you think you've got lost seeds in here, sometimes I'm like, oh, I might have then I'm going to have a random plant growing. I might even take this and have one container that I just put the pour off of this into, and then I might have a little mixed flower container. So tape it up, and tags in, seeds are in, vermiculite if you want it, all that. And then I set them aside. You can see here, I set this aside. And this tray, not the best. It's a dollar store basket. It's got holes in the side. So if I tip it, I drop water on the floor. By the way, this is acacia, and we put this in ourselves a couple years ago. I'll show that someday when I show the living room. Anyway, so this is a container I did earlier today, and you can see I've taped it all the way around. Numbers are on, tag is in. I didn't do vermiculite on that. And see, so if there gets to be enough water in there, I'm going to spill it on the way out. I had a bucket, which I don't know where I put it, in my cleaning and sorting and organizing this winter, that was like an old Lego bucket, and that worked really well because I could fit like 2 to 4 containers in there, and it was solid, so it would hold the water, and then I can just pour that water back into my soil or whatever. So then I get a couple done, and then I can carry this outside. And then this is my vermiculite container here, which is an old cat litter bucket, and I use a little scoop, and a funnel sometimes. I've had to use a funnel if I forget to do vermiculite and I really want to put it on. I'll put the funnel in here, and then I just dump it, and I try to aim the funnel down around the plant, or around on top of the soil. And I've seen people use a like a sifter, like maybe a sand toy sifter, something that has a little bit larger holes in it, and that I think is something I might move to spread vermiculite. So then you put them outside. I put mine, because we are zone 5 and we have real winter, real snow, real precipitation, I'm putting them in a spot where, 1, it's not in the pathway, 2, we do get some high winds sometimes here, so I put them where the wind is not going to blow them over, and where I can check on them. And I would like to, in the future, I've seen people do, like, you could do like 4 of these containers in a like a milk crate or veg crates and stuff, and that is a goal for me for the future. We use milk crates on the farm for a lot of things, but they're occupied, and it would take quite a few if I'm doing a lot of winter sowing. But that's a way to make sure they are secured outside. They're not going to blow over, and you're going to be able to relocate like 4 full-size containers at a time. And that I think is a fantastic, and they're not going to fall apart like a cardboard box would or anything like that. I do like the winter sowing in place. I have done that. I don't have anything to show that right now, where I had like a big pot and I may try that. I'm going to show you some of these things over here. This is a veggie tray, you know, multi vegetables, and this would be something. This is shallow, so it's only a couple of inches deep. Maybe 3 inches this one. 2.5, 3 inches, and then the center is not even that. So what I would winter sow in something like this would be like a ground cover, like a creeping thyme, something that is already going to be accustomed, and when it's going to grow, it's probably going to grow in a similar tight condition like that, like less soil. You know, it's made for a rock garden or something like that. I'm not going to plant, you know, a sunflower in here. Because if I was going to winter sow, which I wouldn't winter sow, I don't know, can you winter sow sunflowers? Good question. If you were going to winter sow something, we'll just say like a sunflower, that's really tall, really big. It's going to have a large root. If you don't get to it, it's just not going to be good to be in this little flat. Where if I had thyme in here, I could probably leave thyme in here the whole season. And maybe even if I didn't get to it till the next planting season, it would probably still survive, as long as it got some water, because this is too shallow for a larger plant. But it's still useful, because otherwise, I mean, yes, it can be recycled, but I'm going to recycle it using it, and then when it's done being usable, I'm going to rinse it out and still put it in the recycling. So this is what I'm going to use for the lid on my the fruit tray. But sometimes I just put another fruit tray on top of it, but I didn't have one handy. And this one was pre-made, so I just found this one that I hadn't put holes in yet. So I got to put the holes in here. So for a lid like this one, I'm gonna put a hole in the center. And if there's an indent, like see this is in from here, I want to make sure, like the bottom, I need to have a hole where the indent is. I want to, because the water here, if I put the holes out here, that's not necessarily going to get into the plant, into the soil as well as it could. And I also found, like this one for sure, you have to have holes over top of every one of these sections. So if I just put a hole in the middle, that's never going to get over here. So you want to make sure you have holes on your lid that are going to go into each part of this container. And the same is true, like this one is central. The milk jugs are a central hole that's going to distribute. But I have found in some containers the water doesn't spread enough, so you want to, you know, distribute your holes around. Have some in the middle, and then like on this edge, I don't think I would put holes here. I don't think it's going to make it. I think the water's going to go off to the side or whatever. So that is a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. I hope it's helpful. I hope you're inspired and that you're having a beautiful winter. May you be blessed. Shalom.